This is Newark in Jersey City, New Jersey. Serving a population of 1.4 million people, a network of subways and light rail lines connect these U.S. cities and Manhattan, servicing 50 stations across 2 counties and New York. Consisting of 37 miles of track, the system travels across Newark and Jersey City, with trains connecting various city centers throughout the region. But how did the system grow from its original stations to the network it is today? My name's Zach, and this is the evolution of the network. Jersey City's rapid transit network began to form in January 1886, with the opening of the first elevated cable railway in the United States. Starting from Hoboken Terminal, the Hoboken Elevated Streetcar Line ran up the Palisades Cliffs to Palisade Avenue, servicing 4 elevated stations en route. Proving popular, the decision was made to extend the elevated railway further into Jersey City, with 7 more elevated stops opening in June 1892. This portion of the line was electrified, with a transfer required at Palisade Avenue to the cable-operated section. However, that December, the entire line was electrified, providing a 1-seat ride from Hoboken to Pavonia. Subway service connecting New Jersey and New York began in February 1908, with the opening of the first section of the Hudson and Manhattan Railroad. Starting from Hoboken Terminal, a line ran under the Hudson River to 19th Street, with 3 intermediate stations in New York. 4 months later in June, an additional one-stop extension opened in New York, taking the line to 23rd Street. In July 1909, a second set of tunnels opened further south, providing service closer to Wall Street. A separate line ran between Hudson Terminal in New York and Exchange Place in Jersey City, with no intermediate stations on the route. 1 week later, this line was extended further into Jersey City, meeting with the original line at Hoboken Terminal. In August, an infill station opened at Erie, connecting to a nearby railroad terminal. In September, a third line was launched, traveling along the existing tracks from 23rd Street to Hudson Terminal. The Hudson and Manhattan Railroad was extended further in September 1910, with a new station in Jersey City at Grove and Henderson. With this change, service on the network was reconfigured, with the Hudson Terminal to 33rd Street line being rerouted to the stop. A new line was also introduced, running between Hudson Terminal and Grove and Henderson, making an intermediate stop at Exchange Place. Service in New York was extended further north in November of that year, with 2 new stations opening at 28th Street and 33rd Street. More stations were opened in October 1911, with the Hudson Terminal to Grove and Henderson line being extended west to the Manhattan Transfer Station. This station had no street access and was used solely as a transfer between trains run by the H&M and Pennsylvania Railroad. 1 month later in November, a further one-stop extension of the line opened, with trains extending to Newark's Park Place Station. An additional station opened on the line in April 1912, with trains now stopping at Summit Avenue. Trains on the Grove and Henderson to 33rd Street line were extended west to the stop the following February, providing a 1-seat ride into Midtown Manhattan. In March 1913, an additional station opened near the west end of the Park Place to Hudson Terminal line, with a new station at Harrison. Newark's first streetcar subway opened in April 1916, helping to reduce street congestion around Park Place. Running from the lower level of the nearby public service terminal, a short subway traveled under Cedar Street, servicing at a portal just east of Washington Street. From there, streetcars continued on-street across Newark, providing connections to various corners of the city. Summit Avenue Station on the Hudson and Manhattan Railroad was renamed to Journal Square in January 1925, after a renaming of the surrounding district. In January 1927, an eastbound-only infill station opened on the Cedar Street subway, with streetcars stopping at Broad Street. The station provided underground access to the nearby Kresge store, with the station being opened only during store hours. A corresponding westbound platform was added to the Broad Street station in August 1929, with a similar underground connection to the neighboring McCrory store. 6 years later, in May 1935, a second streetcar subway was opened in Newark, with streetcars beginning on the Newark City Subway. Starting from a separate station at Broad Street, the subway ran underground to just past Warren Street, before traveling in a dedicated corridor to Heller Parkway. Various access ramps were constructed along the route, allowing other streetcar lines to exit the subway and continue on-street operations. Trains on the Park Place to Hudson Terminal line were revised in June 1937, with the opening of Newark's Penn Station. Trains are cut back from Park Place to Harrison and rerouted instead to service this new interchange. Manhattan Transfer Station was also closed at this time, having been made redundant by the new stop. Both the City Subway and Cedar Street Subway were also extended to the station, providing a centralized interchange between the subway and streetcars. In December, subway construction in New York saw changes to the Hoboken to 33rd Street and Journal Square to 33rd Street lines, with trains being cut back one stop to 28th Street. Streetcar service was cut back in Newark in May 1938, with streetcars being removed from the Cedar Street subway. Trolley buses were run along these routes as a replacement. However, design issues in the subway meant that they could not travel east of the public service terminal. In New York, subway construction was completed in September 1939, with trains on the Journal Square and Hoboken routes being extended back to a relocated 33rd Street station. At the same time, however, 28th Street station was closed, with the new 33rd Street stop being in closer proximity to the station. The Newark City subway was extended one stop north in November 1940, ending at a new station at North 6th Street. Transit cutbacks began in the latter half of the 1940s, with the opening of new car tunnels to New York reducing transit ridership across these networks. In the Cedar Street subway, the station at Broad Street was estimated to have closed around 1947, although we are unable to confirm an exact date. 2 years later, in August 1949, the final streetcars ran on the Hoboken Elevated, with the structure being demolished shortly afterwards. The city subway station at North 6th Street was renamed in December 1953, now being referred to as Franklin Avenue. In August 1954, 19th Street Station in New York was closed, helping to reduce financial losses by the H&M Railroad. The H&M's financial problems were resolved in September 1962, when the system was purchased by the Port Authority in exchange for the property of the Hudson Terminal. Soon afterwards, Erie Station on the Journal Square to 33rd Street and Hudson Terminal to Hoboken lines was renamed to Pavonia, after the closure of the adjoining railroad terminal. In Newark, the Cedar Street subway was finally closed to buses in May 1966, having seen declining usage over the previous years. While the public service terminal has since been demolished, the original portal at Washington Street remains visible to this day, with traces of the original streetcar tracks still present at this location. 4 years later, in June 1970, the PATH station at Grove and Henderson was renamed, now being referred to as Grove Street. In July 1971, Hudson Terminal in New York was replaced by the new World Trade Center station, which included longer platforms to accommodate 10-car trains. In 1980, the Public Service Company was purchased by New Jersey Transit, transferring the city subway to its control as a result. In 1988, Pavonia Station on the PATH network was renamed to Pavonia Newport, after a neighborhood developed around the station. 47 years after the last system expansion, a new light rail system opened in April 2000, connecting various parts of Jersey City. 2 new lines were launched, connecting to the Exchange Place PATH station. The first line ran from Exchange Place south to 34th Street with 7 intermediate stops, while the second followed the first line to Liberty State Park, before branching off to service 3 unique stations to West Side Avenue. In November, a 3-stop extension of both lines was opened, taking the route to a station nearby the Pavonia Newport PATH station. On the Newark City subway, the end station at Franklin Avenue was renamed in August 2001, now being known as Branch Brook Park. The September 11, 2001 attacks on the World Trade Center had a devastating impact on the PATH network, with the World Trade Center station being destroyed and the Exchange Place station experiencing severe water damage. Trains on the Newark to World Trade Center line were rerouted to 33rd Street, while trains on the Hoboken to World Trade Center line were rerouted to Journal Square. On the Newark City subway, a 2-stop extension opened in June 2002, taking the line west to Grove Street. At the same time, the nearby Heller Parkway station was closed, given its close proximity to the expanded station at Branch Brook Park. In September 2002, the light rail in Jersey City was extended north, with both lines now ending at Hoboken Terminal. Repairs to the Exchange Place PATH station were completed in June 2003, allowing trains to resume service to the station. With this change, trains also restarted on the Journal Square to 33rd Street line, resuming the previous network configuration. In November, a 1-stop extension of the 34th Street to Hoboken light rail line was opened, adding a new southern terminus at 22nd Street. Later that month, PATH service also resumed to the World Trade Center, with trains once again traveling under the Hudson River to Lower Manhattan. In Newark, the city subway station at Broad Street was renamed in September 2004, now being referred to as Military Park. At the same time, a new light rail line was launched in Jersey City, traveling north from Hoboken Terminal to service 3 new stations to Lincoln Harbor. A one-stop extension of this line opened in October 2005, with weekend-only service to Port Imperial. Full service on this line began the following February, however, with an additional 2 stations to Tunnelly Avenue. The Westside Avenue branch was also revised at this time, extending along the route to Tunnelly Avenue and no longer servicing Hoboken Terminal. In Newark, a new light rail line launched in July 2006, connecting from Newark's Penn Station to the Broad Street train station. 4 intermediate stops were serviced along the route, with trains servicing 3 of these stops in one direction only. In August 2010, the path and light rail station name at Pavonia Newport was simplified to Newport. On the 22nd Street to Hoboken light rail line, a final one-stop extension opened in January 2011, taking the route to its present terminus at 8th Street. That March, the Grove Street to Newark Penn Line stop at Warren Street was renamed, now referencing the nearby New Jersey Institute of Technology. Finally, in August 2014, the Jersey City light rail station name at Harborside Financial Center was simplified, with the stop now being referred to simply as Harborside. This brings us to the Newark and Jersey City subway and light rail map that we know today. That was the evolution of Newark and Jersey City's subway and light rail network, giving us the 4 subway and 5 light rail lines that we know today. If you haven't already, be sure to watch our video on the evolution of New Jersey's commuter rail network, which you can access by clicking the button in the top right corner. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and comment down below to join in the discussion. My name's Zach, and I'll be Vanishing Underground until the next one.